Today I'm going to show you how to use Tinkercad to add fancy text to a curved surface. So let's get cracking. This is Tinkercad.com. It is the absolute easiest place to learn computer-aided design. We can make 3D designs, circuits, and code blocks projects. When you visit designs, you can see them all, or you can pick just the ones you want to look at. Right now, I'm going to show you the fantastic project I've created today. So this is kind of fun. You can see how Tinkercad is rendering these complex parts. They have totally upgraded the system lately, and complex projects like this are working much better than they used to. So let me show you the idea. I'm going to hide this. We've got words cut in to one of my fidgets. These are totally fun, print in place, and I love to give them away. This is what the fidget looks like before we group it. Each of these are a bundle. When I group all of this, we end up with this part right here where we've got the smooth outside and then the inside that prints in place. And as you can see from the one on the screen, they're working really well. Before I get too far in the project, I do want to mention to you that today's project is brought to you by PCBWay.com. Their easy-to-use website is my go-to whether I'm doing a 3D printing, CNC, or PCB prototype project. They offer prototyping for as low as $5, and you can also have your parts assembled. If you're looking for 3D printing or CNC, PCBWay offers a full suite of services that are useful whether you're running your very first prototype or a full batch of parts. Of course, you can learn more by checking the link in the description. This tutorial has prerequisites. You can find the links in the description or you can visit my website. Of course, I've got a page dedicated to Tinkercad, all sorts of awesome categories. Then the day one favorites, the useful starters, and the Tinkercad essentials. We're here though because we can also quickly get to the HLModTech digital library. Of course, you can also use the bit.ly on the screen to get here in a single click as well. So we're going to use amazing fonts for the project, and you can find those right here, how to add and use more fonts. You must also have completed the fidget. It's out here on level 5 under fidgets. It's a print-in-place fidget spinner. When you've got those done, you're ready to move to the next step. I do want to quickly highlight though, under slicers, I have got a tutorial that shows how to add text with a curved surface in your slicer. This is super slick, but I was not able to export the project created in a slicer for sending to a print service. Of course, the Tinkercad technique is going to absolutely solve that. All right, so we are back to the Tinkercad project. Let me show you the steps here. Of course, make the fidget. This uses sketch revolve and some cool tricks to line these up. They turn out super slick, and there is a 0.3 or 0.4, depending on how you build it, gap between them. They print in place and work fantastic. We also use bundle groups. You can see this here as a bundle. I'm going to hide this piece for just a second, and I'm going to explain the bundle. This is a hole. It cuts out the area where the blue piece will sit. Because these two are a bundle, the hole cannot cut out the part that gets left later. So I'll show you this. If we grab all of these, I'm going to lock the guide tube because I don't want it to become part of it. Now I'm going to grab all those shapes. Notice it says there's 6 of them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus this one. If we do Control G to union group, note this does take a moment as it's doing pretty complex math, but Tinkercad did do some work to make these processes a little quicker, especially if you're using smart design techniques like we have in this project. Note if it ever does hang, which this one I don't believe has, we've got what's called the 60-second rule. You can simply click back to your workspace and relaunch it, and it'll be saved in the queue and it'll finish. But as you can see, that one did finish pretty quickly. If we zoom in, you can now see the gap. And if we hit T for transparent, you can see in and check it out as well. So that's the fidget. All right, so now let's go to making the curved text. As you can see, this is cool and bendy. I'll show you how to make that shape, but I do want to mention again, you need to have completed the text tutorial first. I have shared a file. Once again, you can check this link right here to get to the tutorial, and I showed you how to add a bunch of fantastic fonts to Tinkercad. Once you add them as a your creation, you can ungroup them and change them to say whatever you want. They show up in every project. You just have to go to your creations so that you can find them and put them to good use. Just like that, epic fonts available for all our Tinkercad projects. So let me show you how I got this cool surface. I'm going to ungroup this one because I didn't need it. I just wanted the outside. I did Control D, Shift Nudge, and then I ungrouped it. This gives me the pieces that create it. And then I just modified this to make this awesome shape. I'm going to delete this one because I'll be able to show you real simply just by doing this. If I move this over and I do ungroup, you can see that I've got my text words, Doondogs, Mount Pisgah, and HLModTech, and they are at a 120-degree angle. I'm just going to shift nudge these out of my way and let you see this fantastic shape. It is a group, a bundle group, but if I double click, I can go inside, and now I can double click on each of these to edit them. So instead of the full shape that we use for the fidget, I just took the points and I nudged them so they were a little more than 1 millimeter thick. This means it's going to poke out of the design, and this means it's going to cut into the design. To make this look a little more clear, I got rid of everything else that was in the way. If we double click on this, you can now easily see that this is just a rectangle with a cool end on it. The video shows you how to make that, and it kind of gives you a clue of how I adjusted this a little bit and then curved it for cutting. Once again, I made it about 1 millimeter. This shows the parts we rotate. Once again, this is the exact same shape, but we flip it using the mirror tool. You just make this negative, nudge it, and then we use cool tricks to revolve it the right amount. Finally, we've got the hole in the part inside. I'm going to double click the bundle, and then I'm going to edit the hole. Either way, it lets you see it. But all I did was draw this shape. If we click on the points, you can double check the measurements, and this is 0.3 bigger than the other project. I'll show you this real quick. It's so slick. If we go to 0.1, you can go tap, tap, tap to double check and see the measurements. If your printer is not printing these well, you can simply go to a 0.4 gap. This is the system for making these awesome projects. And now you've got a quick background of how the fidget was made. Once again, bouncing back to the thin one, I simply nudged these with the arrow keys, did that for all the ones in the group, and that is the fantastic shape that makes this sweet curved text all come together. I'm going to click back on my words. Once again, they're a bundle group, so they can move all at once. I'm going to set my nudge back to 1, and we're just going to shift nudge to get it back to the right location. Let's quickly look at the top view, and you can see that these do not connect with each other. So now I can grab those 2 bundles. Notice it says 2 shapes, and I'm going to do Control I to intersect group. So bang, we've now got curved fonts that I can turn into a hole, and then I'm going to hide this. And then I was simply able to nudge them into my shape and do Control G to union group. I will double click real quick so you can see inside. There are the letters lined up exactly as I wanted. How cool is that? I will remind you once again, curved text in the slicer is super simple. I highly recommend you put it to use. But for what I was doing trying to send this to PCBWay, I needed an STL where it was already cut out. This gave me that, so then I was able to grab this part and do File Export, and I wanted to make it a single STL. Notice I only have the selected shape. And I'm going to store it in my 3D modeling folder as V4DD PIP Fidget and save changes. Of course, now we can bounce to Bamboo Lab Studio, create a brand new project. Simply add our file. There's the V4DD Fidget. Notice it does need to be repaired. Only takes a second. There's just some line in there that wasn't quite perfect. Just like that, it's ready to roll. I'm going to stick with the blue PLA+. I'm going to use my 0.2 standard settings, and when we hit slice plate, check it out. 21 minutes, fantastic fidget. Let's quickly hit print plate and send it for 3D printing. And a little over 20 minutes later, a print in place fidget with text, and check it out, spins right off the bed. How cool is that? Wrapping up quickly, of course I want to stress, surface text in your slicer, super slick. I'm able to cut it in, I'm able to print it. That was fantastic. The problem was I couldn't send the file to PCBWay.com. That's why I went through these steps, which end up being absolutely awesome. Being able to wrap your text around a simple shape like a cup, I've got that tutorial up above, or a fancy shape like I did with the fidget is pretty darn awesome. Of course, I also want to highlight using those sweet texts that we add as your creations is a super cool skill, whether you're making signs, fidgets, or anything else using Tinkercad. Please, if you come up with something awesome or you have a cool use for this, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. I do quickly want to say thank you to everybody that supports me via YouTube memberships. Don't forget there are 3 levels of support starting as low as $5 a month. With any level of support, you get early access to videos. Make sure you also pay attention for those members only posts. A massive shout out as well to everybody that supports me via Patreon. Love how that group is growing. It is past 550 members. We have a fantastic free messaging area where you can ask questions, post designs, gain skills. Of course, you can learn more with the bit.ly up above or the link in the description. Finally, friends, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget every time you like, hype, share a video, add a comment down below, or click subscribe. You're helping HLModTech get just a little bigger, which absolutely makes my day. Friends, have a glorious day, and keep tinkering.